If you were to ask me, what is the single biggest problem that I've had to deal with in working with the public from all over the world in all of these years, I will tell you without hesitation, it's how assumption-based thinking is ruining effective engagement and leadership in this country. It's epidemic. Assumptions are the infection that sets in when the immune system of healthy communication is run down. So how do you get engagement back? How do you get your employees to be more engaged? How do you get people in your committees and your organizations to be more engaged and to catch the vision? I work with hundreds of national companies all across the nation, and I've sent out surveys. We've researched this and said, what is it that brings it back? And our research shows that there are 4 pillars that support this structure of engagement. To get engagement back, you have to get each one of those things first, and then engagement thrives. So let's look at the first one. Interpersonal communication skills have changed so dramatically ever since the invention of email and electronic messaging. We have more ways of communicating and connecting than ever before, and yet we are somehow communicating less effectively than we ever have. What the research is showing is that no amount of technology can compensate for the lack of human connectivity. The human psyche needs it. And many businesses are turning back to that. Instead of being automated, they want to add that personal touch back in because people need it. If they don't get it, they become enveloped in that sphere, that bubble of their perceptions, and assumption-based thinking sets in. If you do the same thing the same way in your professions and what you do for service for your clients, day after week after month after year, you can actually get to a point where you no longer see or understand what your client is getting. It's kind of like the waitress who's been working in the restaurant forever. A guy comes in, sits down, and orders a big, thick, juicy steak. She brings it out to him hot and sizzling on a platter and then turns to leave. The man quickly grabs his fork and knife, cuts the meat open, sees that the meat is still mostly pink. He calls out to the waitress. She turns around and he says, "Ma'am, I said well done." She looks at him and smiles and says, "Oh, thank you. I hardly ever get a compliment." A person who feels appreciated will often work as if they are appreciated. A person who feels valued will quite often go the extra mile. If we exploit people for everything that we can get out of them, they'll never engage. Appreciation is the second pillar that supports that structure of engagement. You know, when we take people for granted, we actually get to a point where we stop seeing them. We don't even hear what they say anymore. Does that happen in marriage? Yeah. And we miss valuable opportunities. We become blind and deaf to our world around us, and we get locked in that world of assumption-based thinking. According to psychologists, that word is called habituation. Let me give you an example of what habituation is like that you can all relate to. Have you ever driven somewhere in your car to a destination that you routinely drive to, and when you arrive, you suddenly have the realization hit you, you don't remember the journey? Raise your hand and confess if that has ever happened to you. You start thinking, did I blow that red light? Did I run that stop sign? Why does this happen? It's because our sense of sight, our sense of hearing, and to some degree our sense of touch bypass the conscious mind, going into a state of autopilot straight to the subconscious mind. As far as the conscious mind is concerned, the event never happened. Without the breaking control of awareness and paying attention moment by moment, day by day, you will slide right past important relationships and opportunities to build good business relationships. Now, am I suggesting that we build relationships and become warm and fuzzy with each other? No, I'm not suggesting that at all. But we can take an example from one of our former Utah governors, the late Olene Walker. She was well known for coming into a room, and when she'd greet people, she'd say, "Hi, I'm Olene. Tell me about you." Because if you want people to lower the drawbridge to allow you into their fortress and castle of understanding, try using those amazing words, Tell me about you and watch what happens. People's countenances brighten. They're happy. They love to tell you about themselves. And you know, a lot of times people are grateful that somebody cared, that they still had a pulse. So it should come as no surprise, folks, that building relationships is the pillar, the third pillar, that supports that structure of engagement. You must have it. The best test of any company that I know of is how well they handle a problem when they have one. All companies have problems, all people have problems, but how they handle a problem when they have one will tell you everything you want to know about how they do business and especially how they empathize with other people. I love how one business owner handled this one time. A new branch office of a bank was opening up in the suburbs, and the new branch manager wanted to make a splash in the community. And among many of the things that she did, she ordered this big, beautiful floral wreath to decorate the lobby of the new bank. It wasn't until an hour later that she noticed on the wreath it had the words, "With deepest sympathy," written on it. Boy, she went over, she picked up the phone and called the florist and gave her a piece of her mind, and the florist was beside herself. She apologized profusely. She says, "I'll be right out." She drives out, sees the mistake, and confesses. She said, "I am so sorry. We had a funeral going on today, and they were accidentally switched with each other. I don't have another one to replace it with." But look at it this way. Somebody is being buried out of the cemetery right now, and they have a wreath at their graveside that has the words, "Good luck in your new location." One of the best ways that I know to get started empathizing with other people, and if you work with committees and clients, keep what I call a one sheet on them. With people you need to remember and work with, keep some basic information about them. Maybe their picture, favorite color, birth date, spouse, their kids. Why do this? Because it will only take you 2 seconds of your precious time to ask that person how things are going with something on that list. Maybe it's their birthday coming up. Maybe you could buy something in their favorite color. Maybe their spouse is going through chemo. Maybe they have an autistic child. But that 2 seconds that you invest in showing some empathy toward that human being will pay you back an ROI, return on investment, many times over, because you showed some empathy toward that human being. So empathy, folks, is the fourth and final pillar that supports that structure of engagement. It just so happens that the first letter of each one of those words spells something. It's care, which is the oxygen that engagement needs to breathe. Hold me to my word on what I've taught you today. Send me an email or text or something in a few months and let me know how this is working for you. Take these cards, hang them up. They work, I promise they do. And I promise you, if you will put them to use, you will build a stronger, safer, better, smarter company that will go further ahead of the competition, faster than the speed of doubt. Thank you.